Imagine being caught in the deadliest game of survival, where trust is a luxury you can't afford. In Hell Hath No Fury, a betrayed French resistance fighter is left for dead, only to be thrust into a deadly showdown over Nazi gold. This isn't just another World War II tale. It's a relentless battle of wits, betrayal, and survival. Get ready to dive into the heart of war where no one can be trusted and danger lurks at every corner. Let's unravel the explosive twists and turns of Hell Hath No Fury. New to the channel? Hit that subscribe button. We bring you amazing movies with detailed explanation which you won't want to miss out. The movie begins in France, 1941, where we see Marie Dujardin. Marie is French and is traveling in a car with her lover, von Bruckner, who is a high-ranking German officer. Bruckner tells Marie that he loves her very much, and that if they get separated during the war, he will find her, because nothing can keep them apart forever. While passing through the forest, a fallen tree blocks their path. The driver gets out of the car to clear the road. Suddenly, someone shoots the driver from the bushes, and gunfire is also directed at Bruckner's car. Seeing this, Bruckner tells Marie to wait here, and then gets out of the car and runs away. Marie pleads, "Don't leave me here," but by then, Bruckner is already out of the car. The people who were shooting then approach Marie and point their guns at her. Marie says that she is French and begs them to spare her life. One of the women says to Marie, "You're that German's whore." Just then, the woman finds a gold bar in the car, which surprises them all. Suddenly, gunfire erupts again, and one by one, all the attackers are killed. The shooter is none other than the German officer Bruckner. He kills all the assailants, gets back into the car to leave, but the car won't start. So he takes all the gold from the car and leaves on foot with Marie. 3 years later, Germany has faced defeat in several European countries. After the victory, women who were close to the Nazis became targets of hatred in many European countries. These women were humiliated by having their heads shaved and a hooked cross painted on their foreheads. We then see Marie. Some people are cutting Marie's hair and painting a hooked cross on her forehead. Meanwhile, the United States had also joined the war against Germany. Some American soldiers are traveling somewhere, and with them is someone whose face is covered. They all arrive at an old cemetery. The cemetery's groundskeeper, George, is approached by an American major named Maitland, who asks to see the grave of a German named von Bruckner. However, George tells Maitland that no Germans are buried in this cemetery. The person with the covered face in the soldier's vehicle is revealed to be Marie. The soldiers bring her to the cemetery, remove George, and place him in a shed under the watch of an American soldier. The major then threatens Marie, saying they aren't leaving empty-handed, and if she tries anything clever, one of the graves will be hers. The major asks Marie where Bruckner's grave is. Marie says she doesn't remember clearly. Bruckner is the German officer we saw at the beginning of the movie, and Marie had told the Americans that the gold Bruckner had was buried with him. That's why the Americans brought Marie to the cemetery, so she could help them retrieve the gold from Bruckner's grave. The major unties Marie's hands and tells her to remember where Bruckner's grave is. Marie says the cemetery has changed a lot, with new graves added, so she's not sure which one is Bruckner's. Marie then points to a grave and says, "This might be Bruckner's grave." The Americans begin digging up the grave, but while they find a skeleton, there is no gold. The major warns Marie that if this is some trick, she'll pay a steep price. Marie then points to another grave and suggests that it could be Bruckner's. The Americans start digging again. Meanwhile, the soldier guarding George is suddenly attacked from behind and stabbed to death. George angrily confronts the attacker, revealing that Marie, his old girlfriend, is also here, and she's after the gold she hid 3 years ago. The attacker's name is Clement, Marie's ex-boyfriend. Despite digging up the second grave, the Americans find nothing. Marie insists she's doing her best to remember and points to a third grave. At this point, one of the Americans, named Jerry, becomes suspicious of Marie and thinks she might be lying. However, at the major's orders, Jerry starts digging the third grave. Meanwhile, Clement puts on the uniform of the soldier he killed and takes a gun from George. Clement intends to help Marie escape from the Americans, and George also takes aim at one of the American soldiers, ready to assist. After the Americans find nothing in the third grave, Jerry becomes furious with Marie. Just then, they see the soldier who was supposed to be guarding George walking toward them, stopping near a tree. One of the American soldiers goes to talk to him, but suddenly Clement opens fire, hitting the American soldier. A firefight breaks out between both sides. Seeing this, Marie is thrilled because Clement has come to save her. The American soldiers throw a grenade, injuring George. The soldiers unleash heavy fire. When Clement can't withstand the gunfire, he suddenly disappears into the ground. In reality, Clement hides in a tunnel beneath a grave. After seeing all this, the major suspects that Marie is behind the whole setup. The major, filled with rage, threatens Marie and begins to choke her, but then he controls his anger. Meanwhile, George, who has lost one hand due to the grenade explosion, picks up a gun with his other hand and shoots the soldier who was already wounded. Seeing this, the major riddles George with bullets, killing him on the spot. Jerry is enraged by the death of his fellow soldier and blames Marie for everything. He wants to kill Marie to avenge his comrade's death, but the major calms Jerry down and Jerry steps back. The American soldiers then tie up Marie and begin searching for Clement in the tunnel. They throw grenades into the tunnel, but Clement remains safe inside. The major, driven by greed for the gold, keeps digging up one grave after another. We then see a flashback where Marie and Bruckner are sharing some romantic moments. Bruckner tells Marie that he stole the gold from the Chancellor in Berlin, and once the war is over, this gold will allow them to live the rest of their lives in comfort. Marie suggests that until the war is over, hiding the gold in a grave would be the safest option. We then see Jerry carefully placing his fallen comrades onto their vehicle, not wanting to leave them behind. Suddenly, Jerry receives a radio message that a German unit is approaching their location. The story then flashes back to 2 days earlier. We see two German officers planning their escape as Germany is facing defeat on all fronts in 1944. To save their lives, they need to flee, and they plan to escape to Italy. One of these officers is revealed to be von Bruckner, the same Bruckner whose grave the Americans are searching for because Marie claimed the gold was buried with him. However, Bruckner is still alive, and before fleeing to Italy, he wants to meet Marie and retrieve the gold hidden in the grave. When the Americans learn that a group of German soldiers is heading their way, the major says they need to finish their business here and leave as quickly as possible. However, Marie isn't giving them accurate information and keeps lying. The major then instructs Jerry to place a skull on Marie's head and shoots at it. He makes Jerry do it again, shooting the skull from a distance, and then a third time, placing the skull on Marie's head and shooting from even farther away. This time, though, he misses. Already terrified, Marie becomes even more frightened by the major's shooting and begins begging for her life. Marie then starts to reveal what really happened 3 years ago. She had suggested to Bruckner the idea of hiding the gold in a grave, and they planned to do it that very night. However, Marie secretly sent a message to someone, informing them of the plan. Later, Marie and Bruckner head to the cemetery, which is the scene shown at the beginning of the film. They are ambushed by a group of people who attack Marie's car. These people were actually Marie's accomplices, all of whom Bruckner kills. Afterward, Marie and Bruckner arrive at the cemetery under the cover of darkness. It turns out that this was all part of Marie's plan. She intended to bring Bruckner to the cemetery with the gold, where her accomplices, including the cemetery's groundskeeper George and her ex-boyfriend Clement, were already waiting. Together, they planned to kill Bruckner and hide the gold in the cemetery. But Bruckner had already killed more than half of Marie's team, and she didn't know where the remaining members were. Left with no other choice, Marie hid the gold in a grave by herself and shot Bruckner. The bullet hit Bruckner directly in the face. Afterward, Marie struggled to lift Bruckner's body and placed it in the same grave where she had hidden the gold. She also threw all the evidence of the crime into the grave and sealed it before leaving. However, as she was trying to escape, she was captured and spent the next 3 years in prison. When she was released, the Americans caught her because they were after the gold. After hearing Marie's story, the major unties her. Marie explains that von Bruckner had brutally tortured her parents, her people, and her friends. He had even killed her parents. Marie reveals that the grave where she hid the gold is actually her parents' grave. By this time, Clement has also emerged from the tunnel. Marie shows the Americans her parents' grave, and this time, they actually find all the gold. However, Jerry still doesn't trust Marie. He points out that, despite everything, she's still lying because Bruckner's body isn't in the grave. Jerry suspects Marie is still hiding something and searches the grave himself. Marie, confused, insists that it's impossible because she personally killed Bruckner. She starts searching the grave as well, but Jerry remains skeptical, believing that Marie isn't telling the whole truth. Meanwhile, Clement listens carefully to everything being said, waiting for the right moment to act. The two Americans then make a plan to eliminate Marie and escape with the gold before the Germans arrive. Just then, Clement arrives and tells Marie to come to him with the gold. Jerry and the Major start firing, causing Marie to flee in an attempt to save herself. Clement chases her down and catches her. Marie is very angry with Clement, telling him that he abandoned her and that she can't even describe how she spent the last 3 years. Clement apologizes, explaining that he tried his best to save Marie, but that the Germans had killed their entire group and were searching for the remaining members. Clement says he barely managed to keep himself and the others safe, and that, despite his efforts, he couldn't find Marie until now. As the Major approaches, Clement begins shooting. Seizing the opportunity, Marie grabs the gold and tries to escape. A gunfight erupts between the two sides. Jerry captures Marie and points a gun at her, demanding that she call Clement out. Jerry promises not to shoot if Clement comes out. Marie calls for Clement. The Major then suggests that, with the Germans about to arrive and everyone facing death, they should unite to fight the Germans. Initially, Clement is reluctant to agree, but the Americans force him to cooperate under the threat of their guns, compelling him to join them in the fight against the Germans. Meanwhile, von Bruckner and his unit get very close to the cemetery and will arrive there soon. Jerry mocks Marie, asking where Bruckner's body is if she truly killed him. The four of them gather all their bombs and weapons to plan their defense against the Germans and prepare for battle. Jerry sets landmines with Clement's help. The Major asks Marie if she really did kill Bruckner. Marie insists that she shot him in the face and buried him in the grave, though she admits she doesn't understand why his body isn't there. The Major hands Marie a rifle and says he hopes she can handle it as well as she spins her stories. They all take their positions, waiting for the Germans. When the Germans arrive at the cemetery, the Americans and Marie open fire. Clement starts detonating bombs and Jerry attacks with grenades. The German soldiers begin to fall under the assault, but they also return fire. Amid the chaos, Bruckner and Marie spot each other. Bruckner shoots Marie in the leg. As Clement rushes to save Marie, Bruckner shoots him as well, killing Clement instantly. On the other side, a German soldier severely wounds Jerry with a knife, leaving him unable to move. Eventually, Bruckner kills Jerry as well. Seeing this, the Major begins to fire at Bruckner, hitting him in the hand. After the intense gunfire, only 3 people remain: Bruckner, the Major, and Marie. Bruckner tells Marie that he loved her more than his own life, but in return, she shot him. The Major then proposes that since the American forces will soon conduct an airstrike, instead of killing each other, they could split the gold and go their separate ways. Bruckner agrees to this. However, Marie refuses any deal and shoots the Major, killing him. Bruckner tells Marie that they can be together again, but she shoots him in response. Bruckner in turn shoots Marie. Both are wounded. Bruckner goes to Marie and tells her he still loves her, then kisses her. Marie seizes the opportunity to stab Bruckner, killing him. The Americans then carry out the airstrike, but Marie survives. She places the gold back in the same grave and leaves, never to return. In 1947, Marie moves to Paris, marries an architect, and lives a peaceful life. Marie passed away in her old age in 1997. So this was the end of the movie. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, then hit the thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Stay tuned for more detailed explanation of movies. Thanks for watching.